Welcome to the Stizzy Chronicles. I'm Stizzy. I live full-time in my RV and I'm currently volunteering as a woofer, which means that I get to volunteer on a ranch while also being able to park my vehicle for free. Now, today is extremely hot. I just pretty much finished my ranch duties for the morning. I will have to come back out later on in the evening, but as of now, this is usually the time of the day where everybody just goes inside, enjoys some AC, and gets out of the heat. That's a potential plan. However, I'm going to do something different today. A few days ago, I went to one of the springs here in Florida. Unfortunately, there was a thunderstorm, so I didn't really get to enjoy it fully. I want to go back, and that's what we'll be doing today. Now, of course, it's hot as all heck. So there's a lot of reasons why I will go to the springs today. But one reason that I really want to go is because something was kind of sitting heavy on my heart. The other day when I went, one of the things that kind of bothered me is that the fact that I was there alone, the thunderstorm kind of made me uncomfortable. But what really made me uncomfortable is when it's Florida, it's water. You know, you never really know if there's snakes and gators. Excuse them. I'm near the kennel here on the ranch. Anyway, I was thinking to myself, I got to go back. I got to try this again. Not getting in the water because it's thundering and lightning, cool, that's fine because it's dangerous. However, not getting in the water because I'm thinking of things that could or could not happen. Matter of fact, let me think about this. How do Will say it? Will said it. Somebody else wrote it. You know what? Let me get it just right.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Now, do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice.
Yeah, right? Exactly. By the way, I love that movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Anyway, so I'm definitely going to make a point to go back to the springs, get in the water, just so I can say I conquered that fear. But first, I got to finish up here on the ranch. Don't worry, I'm just going to get your water. I'm out of your way. So as you can see, we are back at the RV and I am hot. Okay, you see the glistening, you see the shine. So right now I got to get out of my little outfit. So let me show you my little outfit. You know, if you see this bright shirt, that means it's a ranch day because I got like 6 of them. And then let me put it down so I can give you a full little. So here we go. Let me show you my little outfit. So I have about 6 of these shirts, I think. So whenever I'm working and I'm doing my ranch duties, I have this shirt on. It started, I know you're probably like, it's hot. Why are you wearing so long sleeve? When I first got here, the mosquitoes was tearing me up. So I just always was covered. And it's one of those shirts that's supposed to help with keeping you cool. I then also have like a week's worth of tights that I wear. And then shorts that I get to rotate. Now, the bad thing is because I want every color of the rainbow when it comes to the shorts, I am now filling up the RV once again. So in order to like balance that out, I need to do some downsizing. So some downsizing will occur. And this is today's outfit. And then I have my little baggie where I carry my stuff. I have my little water so I can stay hydrated. As you can see, today was a messy day. I was actually out doing some stuff with the pig that's here on the property. And I was trying to help him make some mud. So I'm real muddy. I do get dirty. You know, I'm on a ranch. It makes perfect sense. But today is a muddy day for sure. So we're going to take this whole thing off, do a quick rinse. Because I'm assuming, like, even though there were no rules out when I went, I'm just going to treat this like I would if I was going to the pool. Just like, you know, do a quick shower. You know, I'm not going to go crazy with it because I'm going to have to take another shower when I get back. But at least rinse off the layer of dirt that I know was there before I get into nature's pool. Let the mermaid behavior begin. We're here. The parking lot looks way different than when we came the other day. It is full. I was actually worried because when I was pulling it out, I was hoping like, oh goodness, am I even going to be able to find a place to park? And luckily, someone was pulling out as I was pulling up. So I got my spot. I already see that there's a lot of people, a lot of activity near that swing where that rope is. So it's going to be a different experience for sure. And I'm excited. So let's get out the car and get to the water.
Let's take this show on the road. Different day, I'll be bored out my mind. Hometown, love my place, but while I'm in my prime, gotta go get away. Hop a train, hop a flight, and ride. Tonight I gotta break free. My job, those boss be working liners. Clock out at phone, no, do not disturb. My boyfriend's ooh, I need my girls. The world is ours, so run it up. Let's go to a land where we cannot be found. So off the grid, way too little, slow down. No, me and who when they see me out, booked it 'cause I'm not waiting around for you. Let's have me go, Miami. Let's have me go, Chicago. Let's have me go, New York. Let's have me go, Houston. Let's have me go.
Good. Let's go. Drastic difference from earlier today. This is the first time I've ever been to the Springs. At least this is the first time I remember being to the Springs. And I will let you know that water got a little chill to it. Now, I'm all about conquering your fears, but that lily pad area was an area that I was not willing to explore. If the Floridians ain't going over there, I ain't going over there. And then when I noticed that the water changed colors, or at least the ground changed colors, and I took a look-see and saw that there was a whole forest under there, I'm not messing with that. I'm going to just stay in the safe spot. And this is where I stayed the whole time, enjoyed every minute of it.
Grab a glass, make a toast to life. Just living like it's my life. In these streets, music playing all night. Hawaii, I found my peace on a mountain zip line. Australia stole my heart, and the natives are fine as hell. Oh well, let's spend it all tonight in a land where we cannot be found. So off the grid, way too late to slow down.
thing I should have thought about was actually leaving the springs, because now I'm still wet. And this one towel probably is not enough to keep this chair from getting wet as well. Got a few layers on. Let's go ahead and try not to get arrested. Alright, down the layer. Take off a layer. And then that should do it. At least it's gonna have to do. Well, that was an experience. I did enjoy it, especially since it's nice and hot, sunny, not lightning, no thunder. There are people here, so in case of emergency, I knew somebody would be able to help. I didn't get bit by a snake, eaten by an alligator. Somebody was cooking though, and I wanted to make friends, but instead I think I'm gonna just eat once I get back to the RV. Now I gotta get back, and quite frankly, I'm ready for a nap. Part of me was like, I'll lay out right now, go to sleep. But there are some things that I still need to do, and some things that I want to do before I need to finish my evening chores. Before I even got here, I stopped off at the store to get something that I'll be able to use for what I need to do next, which is drop my tank, my black tank. And keep in mind, the only thing I got to worry about in that is just little twinkly twigs. I don't poop in there. I poop in my poop bags. But I still need to go ahead and drop that and mentally start prepping for the next DIY project, which is actually replacing that valve, that waste valve that leaks. As time has gone by, the leak has gotten worse. Before, it was something that wasn't that bad, and there would be times where I could just put down like puppy pads when I was dropping my tank, and that was enough to, you know, keep the area from being soaked with whatever didn't make its way through the holes and then down to the sewage. But now it's almost just like full out gush of water that comes out. So that's why I have this item here, so I can still do like my puppy pad to help with absorbing some of the water, and then this, whatever leaks out, will be collected in here, and then I can just pour this directly into the sewage. Now granted, you know, if I don't want to do that, everything will be fine. It's just that since it is urine that is leaking, it does have a smell, okay? And I don't want to have to deal with that. So we'll have to do this one last time, hopefully, and then we'll go ahead and just actually repair that valve and not have to deal with this anymore, or at least that's the plan. And just like that, we are back at the RV. Now, I'm still in my little swim gear, which means my legs and my arms are exposed. I don't like that because I already feel like there are bugs on me. So we're going to try to do this as fast as we can. Now, I'm not going to show you everything so I don't gross you out, but at least give you an idea of what the process is like. And another thing, I just want to show you what I think is a really cool setup. And the setup that I'm going to show you, I actually got as an idea from a hip camp reservation that I stayed at prior to relocating to the ranch. So where I stayed for this hip camp reservation, it was basically somebody's home, and then you could park your RV for a few days and then go about your business, do whatever you needed to do. So they did offer for visitors to drop their tanks, but it was a special way that things had to be done. If you had a gray tank, no problem. It was pretty simple setup. It was new for me, but a pretty simple setup. If you needed to drop your black tank, they did have a way for you to do that, but it required a pump. So for me, all I really need to focus on is my gray tank. And just to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page with my RV, the way it works, the sink that is in the kitchen and the shower, when that is drained, that goes directly into my gray tank. The toilet and the sink in my bathroom, that goes into the black tank. Generally speaking, black tank is referring to poop, okay? Obviously pee and poop, but you know, a lot of people, if they're like, okay, would you consider urine something that is a gray tank item or a black tank item? They're going to be like, well, that's more like gray tank, like gray water, if you will. But once you throw in the poop, then it's black water. I don't deal with black water at all. I just don't really want to deal with it. There's some things that you have to do to maintain that, things that go bad, and I don't want to deal with it at all. So I poop in a camper's bag, and then my poop bag goes in the big trash, you know, the the dump. We take it to the dump. Okay. Now, as far as the way my RV is set up, since I still use the bathroom and I still, like do bird baths in the sink that's in the bathroom, I'm still filling up the black tank, but it's not black water, if you will. Okay. So when I do drop the tank, it's not super gross, but it's still gross. So as of now, I have it. So, I mean, it's not 100% legal, but I'm just going to let you know where my gray water just dumps. The host here said it was okay, but legally speaking, you're not supposed to do this, just so you know. However, I do that. So like if I'm washing the dishes, that water just comes underneath the RV. If I'm taking a shower, it just goes underneath the RV. But when I go to the bathroom, when I'm urinating in the bathroom, or if I'm doing a bird bath in the bathroom, that water is just held into my black tank until I need to drop it. Now, where my RV is, I have to travel a distance in order to get to where their sewage setup is. So we got this right here, and then I'm gonna do a little walk-see so you can get an idea of how far it is. We have the store here. And this is where my tank can be dropped. So that gives you an idea. Now, I could either move my RV every time I need to do this, or I can be creative. I opted to be creative. I took that idea that I got from that previous hip camp, found a hose that was long enough to travel from my RV to this location. Then I had to purchase some additional accessories in order to make it work. I am going to show you those accessories. Unfortunately, we're going to have to do it backwards. Since we're already here where the dump is, we're going to start from this side, okay? Now, this right here and this right here are two different pieces. This piece I had to purchase separately. This here, we are going to see its mate on my RV. So once you take this off, the one side of the hose goes in this, and then the other side of the hose goes on the other one. So essentially, it's like a male and female. Okay, now let's go to the RV. Now, here on the RV side, in order to make this work, this is the hose that I'm using. I'm not using your typical sewage hole. This is literally a regular garden hose. It's probably like 100 or 150 feet. I'll have to check my records to confirm. But it's super long, and it makes it to where that drop station is. And then down here is where we have the other end of that cap. And then as you can see, the garden hose goes directly into that end. And then the other side of the garden hose goes into the cap that's on the other side there. Now, this whole section here is an issue. This is what I'm going to be replacing, and I'll show you what that actually looks like. I've been calling it a valve, but it's actually, I think, an assembly kit, because there's actually two valves that is part of the kit. The whole thing needs to go. So this is the assembly kit that I'm referring to. This whole thing is what I'm just going to go ahead and change, because I can't figure out what's leaking exactly, but it looks like it's more than one place where leaking is occurring. This side is the side that's going to be connected to the black tank. This side is connected to the gray tank. And this is where everything comes out. So it's actually pretty much set up like this on my RV. If I was to pull this, this is the black tank, pull this is the gray tank. All this is going to get replaced, because I think that there may be some cracks underneath here. I've noticed some dripping in these areas here. These valves you can purchase separately. So there's a valve here, there's a valve here. Sometimes you can just change that and that's fine. But as I mentioned with mine, I think there's a couple different issues that are causing one big issue. So this whole thing is going to be replaced. I'm not really looking forward to this repair, just simply because, one, it's essentially plumbing. Like, I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to plumbing projects, but I'll do them. Going into my Facebook group for Majestic owners, I've read some stories of people who did have to actually change this, and sometimes the biggest issue is actually getting everything on and off. So I guess all those pipes are kind of, really tight. So moving it enough, shifting it enough to fit this into place and then attach it however it's going to need to be attached. It could be hard. Sometimes people have to use additional tools where they're essentially keeping it pried open just so they can fit those pieces in. And then other people, they weren't able to actually just take it off and put it on the way it's intended. So they had to actually cut the pipes that are attached to their RV and just get like a coupler in order to get everything situated. So we will see what will have to happen when it comes to this repair for me. But this is the piece, this is the assembly kit that is the problem. This is what I need to change. I also think, because I feel like the additional leaking that I've noticed started once I started changing those caps. So the caps that I purchased, that may not be sealing properly, and that itself is actually leaking in addition to the kit itself. It's kind of weird, it's kind of confusing, because the first couple times that I had to drop my tank, I didn't have any issues. It wasn't that much leaking as in compared to how much it leaked before. But then recently when I would drop the tank, it's just like, well, goodness gracious. That's why I wound up having to buy, you know, this pan here, because just putting puppy pads down to absorb what wound up coming out wasn't enough. Like the puppy pad was filling up and then it was just leaking. So now we're going to put this down to see, hopefully, you know, I don't know how much water is going to come out, but hopefully it's no more than however much this holds. And then once we're done with dumping it, I'm going to take this over there and actually drop it into the tank. The hope is just to not have too much urine in this area, so I don't have to deal with that smell. But let's go ahead and finish the rest of the process. I'm gonna go ahead and get some gloves, and it should be quick and easy because we're not doing this just yet. Critters galore. Of course, whenever you're dealing with like your gray tank and black water, the bugs are gonna come, okay? So since it's a lot of gray water that's sloshing around right now, and now I got, of course, the black water going through, the bugs are messing with me. But no, I think you may have heard the water when I actually opened up the black tank. That's all that's leaking. Now, I'm hoping that it's not enough that it's going to fill up that container, but it is a good amount of liquids that comes out when I'm dropping my tanks. And one thing that I do is just come to the other end just to make sure everything's moving. I can tell from that end that it's open and that it's actually traveling out. And then I come to the other side just to make sure I can hear it actually. I'm trying to make sure that I can actually hear the draining into the sewage, which I can hear. I don't know if it's going to necessarily pick up on the mic, but I know that it is. Can you hear it? Can you? I mean, I can. Either way, so what will happen when this is done is I'll go ahead and make sure that the hose is completely drained. What I'll do is from the end of the RV right underneath where the valve is. I'll start lifting it up and then make my way all the way down here just to try to get as much out of the hose, just using good old-fashioned gravity. And then I'll take this hose off and then bring it back to the RV, and I always try to ravel it up in a way that makes it easy to unravel it when it's time to do this again. And then with that pan that I have, that'll be filled with however much liquid, all I need to do is take off the pieces that I had to purchase, and then that'll give me access to the sewage, and I can literally just pour it directly in there just to keep everything where it's supposed to be. But I'm hoping that I won't have to continue doing these steps once I actually repair it. I'm hoping that whatever leak, whatever's not secure, by changing that assembly, that'll fix everything. If it doesn't fix everything, then we got a problem, because that means that there's more pipes that need to be repaired, and now that's taking the fun out of it. I mean, the fun's already out of it, but that's making this DIY project a tad bit more complicated. Bugs, leave me alone. Also, as you notice, I have one glove off. I have been through a few gloves during this whole filming process. Every time I am touching stuff and then I need to go move the camera, a new glove comes on just to make you feel better about this. During this process, it always makes sense to just go ahead and add water to the tank, so I might as well do that. What I'm trying to do is get everything taken care of, so once I'm done with this, I can then go ahead and feed all the dogs, because then that's the end of my responsibilities here on the ranch for the day. We will get to have dinner. I just got a text from my host saying that dinner is ready, and then I'll come to the RV, take a shower, lay down, and chill. That's why we're trying to do everything now. Now we got to go in the opposite direction in order for me to get access to the water that I then fill into the RV. Now, technically speaking, I could set this up so it's just a continuous flow into the RV. However, a few things is happening. The faucet over here leaks a little bit, and I don't want to have that leaking nonstop in order to have continuous water flow. So this is why I do it the way that I do, because my water hose is long enough to reach where the water comes out, and it can reach the RV. However, we just have that small leak at the faucet, and it looks like it's the faucet itself, so it doesn't seem like it's a simple repair. So I'd say, like, it really just depends on how many showers I take and how long my showers are, but at least like once a week I have to do this, where I'm filling up my tank, and then I can ride that out just using the water pump, and then we do it all over again. Go ahead and close that up so no buggies get in there. And I see there's a spider right there. You don't go in there. Sometimes I find lizards and toads or frogs. I don't know which one they are, but I'll be finding them any and everywhere. So close everything as soon as you're done. All right, let's go to where the water is. you can see where there's a few places where water drips out of here, and that is why I just turn it on when I need it and turn it off when it's not in use. But now I just got to make sure that everything's okay on the other side where the water should be entering the RV. It's a little spider over there. Don't you go in there, you're gonna drown. Whatever you are, get away. I have tried to time the process of filling up my tank, and it varies, so there's not like a set time. However, I usually know that I can kind of just not think about it for about 10 minutes if it's empty, and then I need to start preparing to come outside or be close nearby to see if I need to be, turn off the water. So it's probably gonna be about 10 minutes. At this point, I do think that the black tank is probably already drained. From the looks of it on this side, it looks like there's no more leaking, so I think it is completely drained. The good thing is, I'm not gonna show you, I'm just gonna let y'all know that the container that I purchased is not full. So, I can walk that over and pour out what did actually come out. I'd say it's probably like maybe a quarter, between like a fifth and a quarter full. So that's about how much liquid comes out when I'm draining the black tank. So it's more than it used to be. Before, I would literally just put out a puppy pad and that was enough. And then I started to notice, like, oh, this puppy pad is really filling up. I got to be careful. Like, I can't squeeze it too much. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get some on myself. But now it's like, we're going to have to use that. For a while, I was actually using one of Fatty's old litter boxes, but that was when I was at the other location near Tampa. Here, I needed something a little, not as deep. I needed something a little more shallow. So that little container is going to work if by chance, once I actually do my repair with this assembly kit, if it continues to leak, at least I have that so I can kind of keep everything somewhat contained and then get it to where it needs to be once everything has drained. So now it's just a waiting game. Now, while I am waiting for this tank to fill, I want to take this time to thank you for watching. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and share. And if there's some things that you have questions about or things that you want to see more, let me know in the comments. Dang it! Bugs. Time to turn the water off. Now the tank is filled, hose is put away, everything's done over there. Now I just gotta finish with this. Close the tank so we don't have any issues later. This is gonna come with me. And what I do is I actually kind of take this hose and try to lift it up a little bit just to get as much of it. I know it's not much, but it's enough. And then I'm gonna walk this all the way down, just giving the hose a lift. So if there's any, gravity is pulling it down, so I don't have too much water coming out later. Well, actually, it's more than just water, but we're just gonna call it water for now, okay? Okay, so we are almost done. Now I've already emptied out that little container that was over here. I figured you ain't want to see that. Already finished up everything that was over there. As you can see, I feel like I've been completely destroyed by bugs. I don't know if it's mental or what, but I don't like being exposed like this out here on the ranch. So I make sure to like keep it nice and organized, and then I'm gonna flip it, because this is how it would be set up if I was picking up the hose and then walking it over. But since I'm gonna keep the gray tank open, I am gonna flip this so when it comes out, it has A little bit of gravity working on this side. Now, with keeping your gray tank open, there are a lot of people who are like, don't do that because it will let critters in. It will. I did have an old lot mate teach me a little trick where what you want to do is create essentially a P-trap in whatever holes that you have. So just like inside your house with that P-trap, it'll be a spot where water will always remain. And because that water is present, the hope is that none of the critters can come back in, because there's like a swimming pool randomly in the holes that is going to stop them. So then I just have to try to create my little P-trap here, and then we can head off and finish the rest of my chores. All right, so with my P-trap, sometimes it's a little hard to make it. So I have the holes the way I want to, but now it's like, okay, I just got to get that shape in here some way, somehow. Now, it's not obviously perfectly a P-trap, but I have it so like the holes is, you know, there's a spot where it has to, the water's going to have to travel upward. And that's the goal, at least. When there's a lot of pressure, because there's a lot of water coming from the hose, it shouldn't have any issues. But right now the hose, it's going up like this. So in theory, that fake P-trap will be somewhere around here. Somewhere around there, the goal is that water will get trapped, and then none of the critters will be able to come into the house. They still make their way in the house though. Just now that I do this, or when I'm successful at creating my P-trap, I'd say it's not as bad. Okay, so hopefully that'll do it. Okay, and that's filling up the tank, filling up the freshwater tank, dumping the black water, taking off the gloves, washing my hands. I'm already sweating. I gotta feed the dogs, the boarding dogs. I gotta get my dogs fed. I don't know if I'm walking today. I probably won't. Take my shower, eat, and relax for the rest of the day. So I hope you enjoyed the time that you spent with me. We got some DIY projects coming up soon. Hopefully some more adventures, exploring more of Florida. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.